Hey, Jason. Jason.
Hey, what's up? What?
So, I know that today we had a whole thing on the docket, but I think that we should talk about a drumroll cultural phenomenon.
Okay, I'm listening.
As Jason has put it in a previous episode, Stranger Things has taken a vice grip on the nation.
It's
Let's
true.
talk some conspiracies.
Welcome to the cast, Backstage Banter. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Saris.
And I am Morgan Elgarden.
And one thing I always forget to mention, so I'm going to get it out right on top now, is if you like our content, like, follow, subscribe. We're on all the podcast platforms too. So if you enjoy just listening in the car and you don't have access to YouTube, do it that way. If you like seeing our mugs on your screen, then you're on YouTube already. Well, you found the right place. So congratulations.
You know what? Even
But
if you don't like it, let us know. Tell us. Subscribe
yeah,
anyway.
do you need more of my gigantic head? Because if you do, I can make that happen. Happy to oblige. Morgan, it sounds like you want to talk Stranger Things today.
Don't want to, but considering that apparently it is a cultural phenomenon, again, I think we
Does
have
that
to.
mean I can just, that means I can officially count the victory that you've conceded and you also agree with me that it is a cultural
I
phenomenon?
don't
Is that
agree
how
with
I should
you.
take that?
If
But
that's what it takes to get the win, you will never be able to put that up on the scoreboard. Jason is
yeah,
so
yeah,
old, guys.
yeah. Facts. It probably is a good idea to talk about it. So it has been a couple of weeks now since season 5 dropped its first batch of episodes, and we did have plans to discuss it. We didn't want to do it right away because we didn't want to spoil things for people. But now that it's been a couple weeks, I think everybody who was planning on watching it probably has watched it at this point. If you haven't, this is your official spoiler warning. We're going to get into specifics of the show, and if you haven't caught up yet, if it doesn't bother you, stick
Spoiler,
around. But if it
spoiler.
does bother you, then, bookmark this episode and come back to it once you've watched it. Season
Save
5.
for later.
So, season 5, we've gotten, it's been what, 3 episodes? 4 episodes total now? For the
Four.
first draft? 4, okay.
Four
What,
episodes and about 5.5, six-ish hours of content.
yeah, how are you feeling about the season so far? Like, just general sentiments.
So my first thought in the first episode was, wow, they're like hitting the ground running. This is a little bit jarring. But as I continued through the first part of season 5, I was like, actually, you know what? Not only was that a very good story mechanic or like a script writing mechanic,
Are you
but
talking about the opening sequence to the first episode when we get to see Will, when he was in the Upside Down from the first season? Is that what you're talking
no, no,
about?
no. I'm talking about like the whole episode where
Mm.
because they set up the whole crawl thing and the fact that the
Oh,
episode was
yeah.
going to be about a crawl, and they set up the whole thing where it's like this is like the 31st crawl or something like that, and they're looking for Vecna. And originally I was like, wow, you're just like throwing us into it, as opposed to like a different thing that they could have done was let us see the process of them discovering how to do a crawl, like what the process was for the first crawl. But they decided to go a different direction, and like
I
I
think
felt
they
like it was
kind of had to, though, because it's been a couple of years since the last season, and the kids have all aged up. I mean, everybody is older now.
sure.
So I think we had to have a passage of time. I think that the tactic you're talking about was specifically to give some sort of thematic reason why we are not just picking
Sure.
up where we left off, because it wouldn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like we leave
I
season
agree.
4, Will's a kid, and now like Will's a 42-year-old man. Like it's you needed to pass that time somewhere. So doing it in the
Yeah.
sense of like, hey, we've been doing these crawls because it's supposed to be what now, about 3 years, I think, in universe since the last season.
Too like
Is it
too
2?
generously because we see Eddie's tombstone, and his death year is 1986, and the opening card for episode 1 is 1987. So
Gotcha.
tops it was 2 years, but it was
Okay.
probably more like a year or a year and a half.
So somewhere a little bit under 2 years, but we've jumped in time a bit.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me that they would do it that way. I must say though, so these crawls, as I understand it, the upside down is basically just Hawkins, right? It doesn't expand beyond
Well,
the geographic location of Hawkins in the
that's the
real world, right?
that's the discovery that's made in episode 4.
Right.
Before that, though, the presumption is that the upside down is a mirror to the world. But once they discover the wall and that it is circular and encompasses Hawkins, that's when we discover that the upside down is just opposite Hawkins.
But see, this for me begs the question of why is it so many crawls that they've been on when it's one little city? You know, like Hawkins is not
Well, we
supposed to be
don't
a huge. I don't know how
I mean,
much
we don't know.
ground they're covering on their crawls, I guess, but it seems like
Yeah.
31 of them could get you around a town, whether or not
I
it's
don't know,
upside down or
man.
not.
It depends on two things. How big is the town and how much land are you surveying in each crawl? Because surveying like a square mile is a feat. Because I'm thinking about it, if you're on a manhunt or if you're looking for a missing person and you're going square mile by square mile, like it could take you to sweep a square mile could take you 1 to 3 hours. And these crawls are short because they can only span the duration of a supply drop.
Yeah, I see. All right, I'll give that a pass then. Um, what did you think of the opening of season one?
The
Of I'm
opening
sorry,
with
of
seeing
episode
Will,
one. Yeah, when we
the
see
with
Will,
seeing Will.
now we get that other perspective because we knew that he was gone in the Upside Down for a while. We had heard stories. We knew that a Demogorgon had gotten him. I think at one point we questioned
Yeah.
if maybe it was Vecna and not a Demogorgon, but we got to now see it from his perspective being in the Upside Down. What did you
Well,
think of that, like story wise, and what did you think of that as far as like cinematically?
I mean, cinematically, it was beautiful. Stranger Things has incredible cinematography. All of the anytime it does the upside down camera flip, I freaking love it. I don't know how they pull those shots off. I imagine there's some kind of crane involved. But the cinematography is always brilliant. So cinematically, I have nothing negative to say. As far as like story wise, I didn't get why we were seeing that snapshot of Will, at least from what the context and the content of episodes 1 to 4 are. Now, it may become relevant later, but I didn't
I
really
That's
get it.
interesting. I do think that there was good reason for it. So a couple things that I will say. One, I think that that sequence is shot well, but I did notice that it looks different than it did in season one. I think the de aging of Will was fine. Like that looked pretty good. I thought he was a believable young version of
De-aging?
Noah.
They didn't just cast a different actor? I thought they were
I
casting young versions of these actors.
Maybe I thought they de-aged Noah Shep or whatever his name is. I thought that
If
de-aged
they
him because
did, then
it
it was
looked like the
horrible.
same kid.
No, no, it didn't.
Oh,
If
you
they
don't think so?
de-aged him, then they did a terrible job because it doesn't look. I mean, like you can pull up screenshots of them side by side. It doesn't. I don't
Hmm,
think it looks anything like,
interesting. Maybe it was. I don't
Noah.
know. But what I noticed is that like the sky and the background and stuff, it looked more. I don't want to say cartoony because that's too harsh of a word, but it looked more synthetic than it had in the past. And I
Sure.
believe, I'm not positive, but I suspect that they filmed part of that on something similar to the volume. If you're familiar with that mechanism, do you know the volume?
Are you talking about like the big sort of virtual background that they have at some sound
Yes.
stages?
Yeah, so I know Disney uses it a lot. There might be other studios that have something similar, or they use that one. But the volume is this big, it's a soundstage with this big curved screen that basically wraps almost around the entire thing. And you put a background on that screen, and when you're in camera, it looks like the actual background that you're going to see once the finished product is out. And they use that because one, it helps the actors kind of get into character because now they have something to look at instead of just green screens all over the place. But two, it saves a
Yeah.
ton of time with trying to digitally create that after the fact. You still got to go in and you do touch ups and you add a little bit of thing here and there. But sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And I felt like I don't know if it was like a little bit of a difference to the contrast that we see, or like the way that the red color in particular kind of permeates. But even when we were seeing later in the episode Jonathan and Steve up on that radio tower, that too looked like it was a synthetic kind of background to it. And I'm nitpicking here, like this doesn't break it for
Yeah,
me,
I
but
have
it's
to
just
be
something
honest.
that I noticed.
Yeah, I have to my I don't know if it's because I'm prone to lose myself in what I'm watching because like genuinely, like I may put my phone away. This is the task that I'm doing now. I want to enjoy this. Like I don't want to be
Sure.
interrupted by text messages, checking email. Um I am invested in what's happening. And I don't know that I notice things like this to the caliber that other people do. And I feel like a lot of people notice stuff like this. Like whenever somebody talks about, well, the background felt off, or this was clearly filmed on a green screen, I'm kind of like, was it? Because I didn't know. And maybe I just have strong powers of suspension of disbelief, but I don't necessarily notice stuff like that unless it's jarring and
Yeah,
obvious,
and it's
which
and it's
some
again,
people it is obvious to.
I don't think it's obvious. I've seen worse examples, and I'm not knocking this show for it because you're creating this fantastical world. I get it's not gonna. I mean, it's not there in real life. It's not there, so you have to create out of something. It just I think the only reason why it caught my eye is because I was so invested in the earlier parts of the series, because I was so drawn to like the visual of what they do with the upside down, that it just stuck out to me. Where and
Do
it's
you
not
think
bad. It's not. I don't want to like. If anybody's listening to this, like it is not a turnoff. If you are going into it, I don't think it's going to ruin the immersion for you. I just noticed it was a different. I thought it was a cool production thing that apparently they're doing something different. I believe the budget for this season was exponentially higher than previous seasons
sure?
were, like
I think it has to be
significantly
though.
higher.
I think
Yeah,
it
of
has to be though
course.
because I mean like there's a lot that they're doing that I think they're delivering on some promises that they have made in previous seasons. And like the wall, not that that's delivering on a
Yeah.
promise, but like you need to raise the stakes, right?
The
And to
scope
some
has
degree, like
expanded quite a
something,
bit. We
yeah,
have
something
bigger
has to
stakes,
happen.
a wider scope. Yeah, I mean
So,
that's the natural progression of storytelling. It should go that way.
and and previously, whenever we're quote unquote in the upside down, there's in previous seasons there was a anchor. So, whenever you saw like Will in season one in the Upside Down, it was yes, there was an aesthetic to the Upside Down, but it was mostly just a filter. It was just it's darker and it's more ominous. And now you're like in the Upside Down.
Yeah. We used to
This
get a
is
lot
what it
more.
is.
Yeah, they're used to do a lot more tight shots, right? Because you can control the elements. Like you probably have, I'm guessing that they would do some sort of practical set. You would have a tighter shot because, you've built an area there for the actor to be
Yeah,
in. You have a filter, you use, obviously you get a couple shots where you're going to highlight the red stuff and that kind of thing. But to your point now, we are looking at a much wider area, and we're expanding the scope. So you're seeing more of the upside down, you're seeing new perspectives of it. You're really trying to get a sense for how big this area is, because that's where the story is taking us, where we're discovering how large is the upside down, like where is
yeah.
the end of this, how far does it reach. and we're getting cool shots for it. And you know, so if they're using the volume, like I don't knock them for it. That's fine. It's just something that I noticed because that allowed them to make these type of shots where it's going to give them a wider scope of the environment. And that's fine. It's not a problem. It's just something I noticed from a production technical standpoint that I thought was interesting, that they must have switched up, because I don't think they were doing, that thing in the past.
I don't think they needed to in the past because, to your point,
The shots
there
were tighter, so you
wasn't
probably
as
don't need it.
the shots were tighter. I mean, like, I don't know, season 4, you do explore the upside down a little bit more. Um,
Yeah,
I still think that it's grounded in some kind of like anchor point. So you get the house and you see the sort of barren wasteland that the upside down is, especially when they're going to fight Vecna,
sure.
and now there's just to your point, there's an aesthetic shift where they're trying to really build out like what the upside down feels like a little bit more, as opposed to just this red hue over a sort of decrepit version of Hawking.
Yeah,
So I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort that they're putting in. I can't imagine what the VFX budget was on it, because
yeah, it sure was up there.
even if you lighten the load with using things like a digital backdrop, you still have to go in and add elements to it in order to make sure everything is pieced together correctly, and you're probably still going in and tracking things frame by frame to make sure that it's still a lot of VFXing and making things look clean and blended and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So to go back to your point about how you were surprised they opened the season the way that they did, I
It
do
just
think
felt
thematically,
unnecessary. What did you feel? What did
no,
you feel was the purpose of that scene? Because I felt like if we didn't get it, it would not change anything in the rest
no,
of.
I disagree. I disagree because these four, if we look at the 4 episodes as a whole, right? This is finally like the Will gets to do something episodes, because I feel
Sure.
like a lot of the show has been, we know Will to be a very important character in the story, but he's gone the whole
Yeah.
first whole first season. He's missing. We get to hear his
Yeah.
voice a couple times, but we don't see him. Then he comes back, and it's a lot of like, I got spider sense tingles on my neck, where we see him, and he's doing that a lot. But there's not a ton for him to do. He's kind of just in the
Right.
background as everybody else does stuff. And in this season, it feels like Will has finally got. He's got an arc. I love the him and Robin stuff. I got a lot of feelings on this. Not to derail, but I
Tell
think
me.
Stranger Things I think is really good in two specific places. When they are super into the dark supernatural stuff, and when you have these good character moments where it's just characters bonding with each other and doing something.
Yeah.
And I think the Will and uh uh I just said her name. What is her name?
Robin.
um, Robin, the Will and Robin stuff is really good. I think it's really good between it, and like, man, what a motivational speaker Robin is. Like, she has one
On a
conversation with him, and she unlocks his superpower, and it's like, my God,
Yeah.
that like she is in the wrong profession. Like, start talking to people all the time. Who knows what people are capable of?
On the topic though of strong character arcs, I'm really liking the dynamic between um Dusty and or Dustin and Steve, and I'm also liking the dynamic between Steve and
Jonathan,
Jonathan. Yeah.
that's interesting. Like, I like the Dustin and Steve thing because it shakes up the previous their previous like buddy stuff was so good that it's hard to move away from it. But narratively, I get why we're here. Dustin is grown a little bit harder. He's a little bit darker, a little bit broodier because he lost Eddie. And I think as far as the character goes, that makes a lot of sense for him. And I think because Steve is also his, you know, his older kind of buddy figure,
Mm.
that also, makes sense, where he's like pushing away from him because he doesn't want to like replace Eddie either. He feels like honoring Eddie's legacy is not just ignoring. I get why he's there, and I get that dynamic. But as far as Jonathan and Steve go, I am not liking that. Like, that's one of my pet peeves about this season so far, is we're still doing the Nancy love triangle thing. Like, how many times are we doing this at this point? Like, I thought Steve had outgrown this, right? He had let her go and he
Um,
was moving on, but now we're back on it, and it could pay off. Like, to be honest with you, if in the last episode, like,
yeah.
if in the last episode he sacrifices himself and he's like, I'm doing this for you, Nancy, I've always loved you, whatever, I will applaud. I'll stand up and I'll be all excited about it. But
Do
in the
you do
meantime,
you
I felt like we got past this.
do you actually feel like Steve was over Nancy?
I think so. Yeah.
Because
I
I have a
it's
wildly different perspective on that, because the reason that Steve is essentially hoarding all of Hawkins is because he's not over Nancy.
1 second. Hawkins. There's no G on the end. I just want to make sure.
Whatever.
Okay. Just
Okay, okay,
I had to throw that out there because you said it
disclaim
multiple times. So
disclaimer in the middle of the episode. I am a fan of Stranger Things by proxy. I was sort of roped into watching Stranger Things and did enjoy it, but I'm not like a die-hard fan of Stranger Things. I'm here for the cultural aspect of it and to be up to date on it, but I'm not like oh, Stranger Things. Woo woo woo. Like
I I've also noticed, as an interesting like Morgan quirk, every once in a while there comes a word that for some reason you just like to pronounce a different way. Like, it's happened, I've noticed it
oh,
a couple of times now.
interesting.
So like
Is it?
Hawkins is one of them because you say Hawkins. And this is not the first time I've noticed it. I've noticed it other days too, but I normally don't say anything. But then like, what's another example?
Now I'm
So
like gonna be
in
like
our show,
Hawkins.
in our show, we have a character whose last name is Saunders, or Sanders, and you always pronounce it as Saunders for some reason. And I know you know the name because I mean, like, we wrote it, we co-wrote that story, but
Yeah.
for some reason, like, when we're in the moment, you gravitate towards a different pronunciation, and it's usually names. It's not like traditional words. It's just sometimes I think you just catch a vibe and you feel a certain way, and you're just like, I'm feeling spicy now. It's Hawkins, and you just kind of go with it, which
That's interesting because people, I mean, like, I'm not 100% surprised that you're picking up on that, because many people have come up to me on several different occasions, and like has told me that I say interesting weirdly. Someone told me that I say mayonnaise weird. Someone said I said eggs
Wait,
weird,
what
like
was
egg
that one?
mayonnaise.
What was the What? Are you saying mayonnaise or
Yes,
mayonnaise? Say it again.
mayonnaise,
Mayonnaise?
mayonnaise,
All right. And what was the next one?
eggs.
Eggs?
Yeah,
Like a hard A-Y,
like
eggs?
hard boiled egg.
Oh, okay. Not that this is on topic,
People
but are
people
you
have
a
told me
soda or a pop person?
soda.
Soda. Okay.
I
So
do
that's my
think
thing.
it.
I call it pop, and I understand most people say soda, and I understand that I am in the minority.
Well, pop is
If the full
a
word is
Midwest
soda
thing.
pop, if the whole word is soda pop, why are we shortening it to the longer of the two options?
I don't know.
Why aren't we all on board the pop train?
Hey man,
I feel
I
like it
was
should be pop.
I was indoctrinated into soda. I don't have a preference for either one.
Okay, I'll let it slide. But back to Stranger Things.
Back to
I
Hawkins.
like back to Hawkins. Uh, I really like when they have the character moments, and I'm not feeling the Steve and Jonathan one right now. And maybe
I
it'll
don't
pick
think
up. I
my
just
opinion is that Steve was never actually over Nancy, and Nancy's also catching feelings for Steve again. So Nancy actually has grappling because we're introduced in season 4 to the fact that Nancy and Jonathan are on the rocks anyway.
sure.
So I don't think the
Well, I
love
don't think
triangle is
she's
really
with
having to
either
work.
of them right now, isn't she? She's not
She's with
with either of
Jonathan.
them at the moment.
Yeah, she is. She's with
I
Jonathan.
thought that is she still with Jonathan?
I mean, if they're not together anymore, then they haven't made that clear because they are
Hmm,
acting
maybe.
like they are
It's
together.
it's been a while since I caught up on season 4, so I don't know why I thought in my head that they were kind of just cooling it down because things were getting too crazy. But I assume you're right. They're probably together, which makes sense because I think he had an
I mean, he
engagement ring
blows up
at
at
some point, right?
Steve for essentially being like, "Why are you being a better boyfriend than me, her actual boyfriend? Like, stop stealing my thunder." Like, there's that whole blow up in the car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. And again, he's got the engagement ring, so he's intending to propose at some point in the near future.
Correct.
So
Which
I need to know your if you get your way, where are you leaning? Do you want
my way.
Nancy? Yeah, what would be your preference if Nancy ends up with Jonathan, if Nancy ends up with Steve, or if Nancy just stays alone by the end of the
I
series? What would you prefer?
Dude, this is wow. This is gonna be my hot take. I find Nancy to be somewhat of an intolerable character.
Hmm,
So I'm not really rooting for it in either direction because the thing is, I like Steve and I want Steve to be happy, but that to some degree means that he would end up with a character that I'm not fond of. So,
sure.
it's like one of those things where it's like I'm rooting for Steve, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not really rooting for Nancy.
Which you're probably not going to be happy to know then they're planning some sort of Nancy spin-off series.
I mean, I get it. I understand why they are because they have portrayed her as this like strong girl boss character and I mean like
Not feeling it?
I have thoughts about like the strong female character archetype in the modern era, and it's not a popular opinion, so I don't really want to share it.
Yeah, and we don't have to super get into it, but I will say this that I do think that a lot of studios have a tendency to push the architect, which have you or the archetype rather have you heard the term Mary Sue?
No.
Okay, so there's a term for a certain type of character called a Mary Sue, and that's when it's a girl boss character or a character, a similar character that becomes like this strong thing without earning it. Like they just have everything handed to them. It's very easy. People claim this of like Rey in Star Wars because people have
Sure.
been practicing the Force their entire life, and then she looks at it for 5 minutes and she can already take on Kylo Ren. So
Yeah.
I think
Fair.
that there's a
Fair.
I
I
I
agree.
I don't I do agree that there are a lot of movies and stuff that will push this because it's like we want to have a strong type of character. I don't take Nancy as a Mary Sue. I look at her in the first season, she was very timid, she went through some stuff, she's had traumas. I do think that she has organically become stronger throughout the series.
Sure.
So now we're looking at her and she's this, girl boss, tough chick kind of thing, and I buy it. I don't feel like it was unearned, and I think for me that like women can be strong, and in movies women
Sure.
can be strong as well. And regardless of the gender, the character that if it's a strong character, they have to be deserving of that title. And I think she does.
Yeah.
I think she has shown that she has stepped up to the plate when things get hard. She has taken, leadership. She's not had I mean, she's had her fair share of struggles. So I don't have a problem with the position that she's in now. But if she rubs you the
I
wrong way for some reason, she rubs you the wrong
No,
way
yeah,
for
I
some
don't
reason.
from a story point of view, like from a writing point of view, I think that Nancy has earned like character-wise who she is. Like I get like how she I get why she is the way she is. I just don't particularly care for it. I find it a little
Yeah.
bit insufferable. Like, I don't know why, but that one scene where they're trying to essentially break into the back of the hospital to see their mom, and the doctor calls her sweetheart, and that like is a sticking point for her, and she's like, I don't like doctors who smoke or call me sweetheart. I was just like, really?
The I- I'm guessing the reason why it has that effect on you is because that is commonly used in Mary Sue, situations. Now, I don't think it's. I mean, we're taking a show that's happening in the '80s, and I think that this character is legitimately strong for a good reason. So I don't have a problem with that positioning of that type of scenario in this story. But there are lots of stories where it's like you have this character who has done nothing to grow and be strong, and then all of a sudden somebody calls them the wrong name, and it's like, oh, whatever. You can make the same case though for Back to the Future with the whole chicken trope, like that too. Like I thought was when they call Marty
Gosh,
McFly a chicken, and it's just like, no, nobody calls me chicken. It's just like it's a weird quirk that they were like, we need some sort
yeah,
of reason to make them all of a sudden change their
sure,
personality.
sure.
And
Like it's a weird thing that sticks with you. I mean, like I think that look, maybe I'm just over where we're at in the culture as far as pushing the whole girl boss narrative because I used to be on board with the yeah, like don't call random women that you don't know sweetheart. Like don't do that. But now we're like so oversaturated with it and the whole like fight back anti-culture thing where I'm like we don't now you see it and it's like, okay, here we go again with a strong girl boss character. Like, and I don't want Nancy to be that. Because I liked Nancy back in season one. I was like, these are real struggles that she's going through that I
hmm,
can identify with. I think it's very reasonable what's happening to her and the way that she's responding to it. And now she's falling into a typical girl boss character. And yeah, she may have earned it, but it still feels like forced,
yeah,
I guess.
I disagree. I don't have a problem with it, but I can see if you're making that association because some of the tropes are used in other places and they're outdone, and it's most commonly used in places that they're not earned. So that just might be like a natural reaction to it because typically you're used to seeing it when it does not, it hasn't been earned in that situation. So you have a visceral reaction to just reject it. I can see that. I don't think that's the case here. But either way, I think one of the big things that we're going to be following this season is going to be this Jonathan versus Steve dynamic because Jonathan kind of represents one aspect of Nancy's personality, which is that like artistic, soft, whatever, like a lot of the stuff that she was in the earlier part of the series. And Steve is really the catalyst for her growth in a lot of ways. And like, he
Mhm.
was the one that took her virginity and all this other stuff. So like she kind of came to her own through, the relationship with Steve because he was that other end of the spectrum socially and that sort of thing, and she brought him down too. I mean, like she pulled him back because I didn't like Steve in the first season, and he
Yeah,
became a better person because of Nancy, and Nancy became a stronger person because of Steve. Like I think that they complement each other well, but I
yeah.
think that her natural resting point prior to knowing Steve fit very well with Jonathan. So it's like, is she going to go with the tried and true, or is she going to go with the new and evolving? And but I think there's also the question too, where she just might not pick either of them. Maybe she just
Yeah.
says, I'm going to do me,
I
and
think
neither one of you is the right
if
fit.
I'm making a legitimate prediction, I think she picks neither one of them because
Hmm.
if she falls into the girl boss archetype, that archetype is I don't need a man. So I think that if that is the prevailing aspect of her character, then she picks neither of them. I think one of them dies. It's most
I
likely
think
going
so
to
too.
be it's most likely going to be Jonathan, but I
Oh,
could
I
see it being
disagree.
Steve.
I think it's Steve. I think so. My opinion is that she is going to choose Steve, but Steve is also going to die, so they're not going to be together. I think Steve is going to sacrifice himself at some point because that would feel. I'd hate to see him go, but that would feel like a good end to his arc because of where he started, where he was originally the guy who would run away and that sort of thing. He was the bully, but like he was all talk. And
Yeah.
over the course of the show, we've seen him be the protector and we've seen him help others and become a better human. For him to make the ultimate sacrifice in the end to protect
Yeah.
one of them, probably Nancy. And especially if finally they're going to get together and be together for real, and then he
Yeah.
sacrificed. I think he's the one that goes. That's my opinion.
That's interesting. I think Jonathan is more likely to die because I don't think that Nancy's going to end up picking one of them. And I think that Jonathan
And
dies
he's going to be
most
so
likely due
sad
to
that he just offs
No,
himself.
no. I don't think it's going to be that. I think Jonathan dies either as a pawn in order to
Mm,
make sure a plan goes through or make sure like something is able to happen, or as a mishap of a plan. Like something
mm.
screws up and they find themselves in hot water, and I think Jonathan ends up dying. And you know who else I think dies? I can't remember his name right now, but the guy who can speak Russian who helps break hops out of Russia.
Murray.
Murray. Yeah, I think Murray
Mm.
dies.
Um, which I was going to get into this later, but maybe we should do this now since it's on topic. Historically, Stranger Things has killed off somebody every season, but it's not usually our core people. Like it's usually the new person to the core group that gets the axe. And then maybe it's also somebody else along the way, but it's never our main nucleus. This is
Hmm.
the final season. If they're going to kill someone from the main nucleus, it's gonna be now.
Right.
So can we go through like some of our main characters and tell me if you think that they live or die?
11, Mike, Will,
Hold on,
Dustin,
hold
and
on, hold
Lucas.
on, hold on, hold on. Oh my god. Oh, Morgan, this is a podcast. You can't just give it all out in 1 second. Like, just
Oh,
take your
sorry.
time. Let it
I'm
go.
so
All
sorry.
right.
11 is a girl.
Jesus
Mike
Christ.
is a
Hold
boy.
on. Let's start with Hopper. Do you think Hopper makes it or do you think he bites the
Yeah,
dust?
I think
You
Hopper.
think he makes it?
Yeah.
I think
I don't think his death
I
would mean all that much.
I think Hopper I think Hopper does die. That's my thought. Because they have faked us
Okay.
out twice with it now. We thought twice that he was going to die.
Are you team Jason or team Morgan? Get in the comments.
I also think, too, that, well, maybe we should have talked about this later because it might go over. Anyways, Hopper, we have this ongoing arc of like, him dealing with the death of his daughter, right? So
Right.
I wonder if there's going to be some sort of closure where his death is him reuniting with his daughter, in the afterlife, or he's sacrificing himself to
Oh,
protect his surrogate daughter. Like I
I
think that
can get
there's a
behind
way that
that.
narratively it would work. So if 11 lives through the show, I think Hopper dies. I think
If
one of those two have to either 11 or Hopper have to die in this series. And if it's
sure.
11, I think that is like wildly cruel to do to Hopper's character again because now he's lost his daughter and his surrogate daughter. So if I had to bet, I would say 11 lives, Hopper dies.
If it's a package deal like that, I would agree with you. If it's like 11 dies or Hopper dies, Hopper will die. I don't think he dies though. Like I think both 11 and Hopper make it. And I can get on board with your whole like Hopper dies and is reunited with his daughter because they are doing a lot of interesting like flashbacks and
Yeah.
like remember this thing about Hopper, which they might be doing because it's not really visited after
We
season 1.
flash back to that a lot. I think in season 4, don't we get that a few times where he's flashing back to Sarah?
Maybe like once or twice, but I don't really recall it being a tremendous aspect of season 4. But in season 5, in the first 4 episodes alone, we've already gotten that like once or twice.
Okay. We'll come back to that in a second because it ties into the theory of what maybe I think that they're doing on the show. But let's go to some other characters. So let's look at Lucas and Max. I'm going to pair all these teams up. So
Mhm.
Lucas and Max. Do you think either of them dies?
The thing is, like, I don't think Lucas is a big enough character for anything to mean a lot with him. Like, he's always just kind of there, and it's kind of funny what like
He
the
had a
role that
pretty
his
big
character
role in
plays.
season 4.
his role was, well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define big role, because his whole character arc in season 4 is keeping Max grounded. And I mean, like, I guess that's important, but
No, he in season 4 he was also struggling with the dynamics of the rest of the team. He was trying to fit in with other kids at school, and it wasn't meshing with like the nerdy friends that he had, and he had to choose between sides, and he was kind of he was the conduit between the two, right? When they were all chasing Eddie, he was trying to keep his friends safe while he was also being the double agent with the popular kids. Like he had a lot to
but
do in season 4, more so than earlier
argue,
seasons.
yeah, but my argument would be that a lot of that is just you get to see his character. And look, I love a good character development arc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking Lucas as a character, but story wise he doesn't do a lot because he can't do a lot. If he actually was successful in making sure that the jocks didn't find them, then nothing would have moved forward in the plot. So his character is almost designed to fail, which is like unfortunate, but that's his character.
Yeah, poor guy. All right, so you don't think he dies? What about Max?
I don't think Max dies either, because we had the like whole thing where she almost died, and
Yeah.
apparently 11 can now revive you, which I think is a really gray area that they don't dive into really all that much. Like,
Yeah.
it's
So
kind of,
I
it's
mean,
gray. It's really sticky. I think it's actually somewhat problematic that they sort of left that open-ended, because if 11 can maybe kind of revive people, then Vecna can maybe kind of revive people too.
well,
Which
and
brings
to
me
be
to my hot
fair,
take theory. Do you want to know what I want to happen in season 5 but probably won't?
sure. Yeah.
Zombie Eddie.
I don't think it's impossible. It could
But
happen.
they leave that door open, because if
Mhm.
11 can bring you back, then why can't Vecna? And how good would it be if we got Zombie Eddie, and now like Dustin has like a confrontation with
I
him?
think I, I think if we see Eddie again, it's going to be in a different way, and I'll get to that shortly. So I agree with you though that Max is probably not going to die. I think Max and Lucas are probably both safe. What about Dustin, and who can we pair with Dustin? Dustin and um, Joyce.
I'm just
Dustin
gonna
and Joyce.
interject real quick. I'm just gonna
Mhm.
interject real quick. I want Mike to die.
Okay. Okay. All right. Could have saved that for when we got to Mike, but okay, we'll jump the gun. All right,
I was
let's
just
just jump.
like,
Okay, look, I don't think Dustin's gonna die, and I don't think Joyce is gonna die. So we got that out of the way. Let's get to the good stuff. Mike and Will. What do you think? You want
I
Mike to
don't think
die, but do you think he's going to?
I want Mike to die. And
Can I ask why?
do I need
Why
to?
do you want Mike to die?
Because he's just kind of insufferable at this point. I he's he's the de facto leader, and he sucks at leading. And I also,
He is also a 30-year-old kid. I mean, like I know he's a man, but he's supposed to be a kid still in the show. So
I mean, like,
kids
he's a
are
high
by
schooler.
default not great leaders. But
No, I mean, like, he's a high schooler, and in high
yeah, yeah, sure.
school you have varsity leagues. And look, I'm not saying that you are perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but is anybody? Like, as we get older,
I am.
do we do we become more perfect as we get older? Like, I don't think that this is really a crutch. I think that if you are a leader in anything at any age, then you should strive to be the best leader possible. And in season 4, we literally see him say to Will, "Why is this all on me? You could have reached out more." Not what a leader says. A leader takes responsibility for the fact that they screwed up, and
But they're
I
kids.
just
I mean, like
dislike.
this is they're kids, and kids make mistakes, and kids don't understand, and especially in season 4, which was what 3 4 years ago now. I mean, they were middle school kids, so I get from a character perspective that you're not going
No,
to be a perfect
they
leader,
were high
and if
school in
you
season 4. They were high school in season
maybe
4, I believe.
freshmen, maybe so like 15,
I mean,
but like
sure.
from a character perspective, you have to have flaws. So Mike's flawed because he's not the perfect leader. Like he rallies the group around, he holds the group together, and he's trying, but he makes mistakes.
Yeah.
If he was perfect at all, it would also be uninteresting. So I don't
No, I
fault him for
think
that.
I think that you're right that characters have to have flaws. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have flaws, but he's just such a bad leader. He's such a bad leader. Like I
Dude, he did a bang up job though with his talk with his sister in this season. He's got the little figure and he sets her up. I mean, without that little pep talk, I don't know that she would be. I feel like she'd be in a much different place within Vecna's little world
Yeah, I mean,
scape
like,
thing.
take this. I mean, like, yes, sure, take the small wins where they are, but he also blows up at Nancy in the hospital. So, like, I,
Yeah, sure. All
I
right,
like,
so but
he's
you want him to
such a.
die? Do you think he's going to?
Do I think he's going to? No, probably not, because he's our sort of ipso facto main character.
Except for he's doing nothing so far this season. I feel like
That's why I want
Mike
him
has
to
been.
die. That is
But no,
why
but I'm saying I feel like they've given him nothing to do this season. Like, yes, he's in
he
the
could.
hospital and he's trying to whatever, but
Jason, Jason,
usually Mike has
look at
been the
me.
focal point.
Jason,
I
look at
don't think of him as a main
Jason.
character anymore. What?
Jason, Jason, look at me. Look at me in the eyes when I
Okay,
say
look
this.
at him. Look at him.
He has something to do. It's be a leader.
Okay. The only thing that Mike has done so far is he went on his little hospital run with Nancy, which, fine. And he was Captain Exposition. Like, the biggest complaint I have about this season so far is that they've done a lot of exposition dumping. When they had that whole scene where they're like, all right, so here's how the crawl works. Like, they're on number
Yeah.
31. They know how the crawl works. They've been doing it 30 times before this. And Mike's sitting there like, we're going to go here and you're going to do this or whatever. And I know it's for the audience benefit to catch us up. But my biggest gripe about this season so far is like that is not great writing. Like, that's like the lazy exposition, like, hey, let's go over the plan one more time.
Yeah.
Okay, is this what we're doing? Fine. And I like the
Yeah.
season. It's good, but like those scenes, I remember when it was going on, I was like, oh no, is this what we're doing? We're gonna do like let's go over the plan again thing. And Mike was spearheading that. So if I'm gonna fault Mike for anything, it's that his character is the exposition dump, which isn't his fault, it's the writer's fault.
Well, yeah,
But what about
that's
Will? Do you think
definitely.
Will's gonna make it?
No, Will doesn't die. Will can't
Yeah.
die. Will's now a Superman.
No, Will is dying. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, Will is gonna die. Will, and
Interesting.
I think that in order to kill Vecna, if that's what's gonna happen, Will's gonna die with it because they have that connection to each other now. So I think he's
Well,
going
I
to
guess
die. He's gonna sacrifice
that's a
himself in
fair
some way or protect his friends, and he's gonna
yeah.
go in the process.
That's a fair point, like the connection between him and Vecna. So I guess the question is, do you think they win? Do you think they defeat Vecna? And I
So
mean, this would be the shittiest way to end the series, but I actually don't think they defeat Vecna.
all right. So let's get into the bigger conspiracy theories because I can't answer that question without first telling you what I think is potentially going to happen here.
Okay.
First of all, have you picked up? I assume you have. I don't want to make it sound like you couldn't have picked this up, but
I'm
have you
dumb. Talk to
noticed?
me like I don't know anything.
Have you noticed a emphasis on time? Not just through the series, but specifically in
No,
this season. There's
I
been a lot of emphasis
haven't.
on time, right? We're talking about, I mean, you got the 12 children, like 12 hands of a clock. Vecna always shows up with a clock. You got lots of references to Back to the Future going on. You got a lot of talk of wormholes and, like there's, what do you call, what's the worm, what's the other name for a wormhole? The
Uh,
Edson,
and Einstein Rosenbridge.
Rosen, yes,
The
an
Einstein
Einstein
Rosenbridge.
Rosenbridge. Yes, you got a
That's not
lot of
the
this
other
stuff going
name.
on.
That is the name. Wormhole is the other name.
Yes, I know it was just escaping me, and wormholes what popped up. But so we have a lot of references to time.
Sure.
Wrinkle in Time is being referenced a lot as well. And
Yeah, and
that
they have
book
that
is
insert shot.
about
Yeah.
yeah. So I suspect, and you kind of going back to your point about Eddie, I think that there's a chance what we see is some sort of time travel type situation where maybe as they go through this story, there's like they create a rift and it jumps to like a different timeline where maybe things are different, or we see alternate scenarios that have happened, like maybe Eddie is still around in this other rift. So it's not a zombie Eddie, but you have
They
Eddie
so
from
wait,
the
they
other.
they see these things, or they actually physically like create a rift and move to an alternate reality?
So I think I suspect we're going to get some sort of battle against Vecna where they lose to Vecna. And in the
Hmm.
process of losing, as their last ditch effort, they connect the dots with the time thing. They open up some rift. It allows them to go into this other run at it, right? Where things are slightly different. I don't want to say multiverse because I don't think it'll be that. I think everyone's tired of multiverses, and I don't think it'll be that
I'm not.
explicitly.
I want another. I want a Stranger Things multiverse.
But I do think that they're going to rerun. They're going to rerun the ending in a different scenario thanks to some kind of time shenanigans. And I think when they do it the second time, they're going
That
to
would
actually
that would actually
approach
that
it
would
with
actually
Vecna, because I don't think Vecna is the final boss. They've referred to him as the general. I think either the Mind Flayer is still the final boss, or there's some other thing that we haven't seen yet.
Okay, wait, wait,
And I
wait.
think when
I
they
have a question.
rerun it, they're going to rerun it in a way where they now have Vecna on the team, or Henry. Maybe it's they're pulling, this alternate version of like the Henry that's in the Mindscape with Holly. They're pulling him to go up against maybe the Vecna version of himself. And I think they're going to
Sure.
rerun this, and that's when they'll win. And maybe that's also how we get a Hopper still has Sarah type of scenario, or whatever the case may be.
Well, so let me ask you a question, because you mentioned the final boss, which is
Yeah.
at the present moment being defined as Vecna. But I think that okay, they do refer to Vecna as the general in the previous season. However,
Mm-hmm.
there's the scene towards the end of season 4, I don't remember what episode, where Vecna is we're seeing Vecna arrive in the Upside Down for the first time after he is sort of um excommunicated from, I guess, regular reality by 11 all of those years ago, and we see
Yep.
him entering the Upside Down, and we see the mind flare, and there's this like soft implication that Vecna, or I guess one, tames the Upside Down, and he is the de facto king of the Upside Down, meaning that everything that happened in season 1 was being controlled by one. Like that was the soft implication that I got. So he
So,
is the final boss.
except, so there's a couple of things I'm going to point to here. I know what you're talking about, and I originally kind of thought the same thing. However, when we get the flashbacks of when what is his name, Henry, as a human before he becomes Vecna, when we get the
Mhm.
flashbacks of him being in the house, something pushed him towards the murdering of his family, right? So at some point, I think I don't remember if they explicitly say this or if these were dots that are, if this is just dots I'm connecting, whatever. But the Mind Flayer affected Henry in some way, just like it was. Do you remember when it controlled Billy in what season 2, and
Mhm.
it kind of possessed him and can use him as a puppet?
Mhm.
I believe that the Mind Flayer had some sort of effect on Henry. Henry killed his family. He uses Henry as his general. And I think this is why we're going to get some version of Vecna, maybe the Henry version, like where there'll be two entities. There'll be Vecna and Henry. And maybe they can only exist in the Upside Down and they can't exist. I don't know how they're going to do it exactly. But I think that the Mind Flayer uh, create like had participated in some way of creating Vecna because he needed his general. So I think the Mind Flayer is still out there as the big boss, the final boss, and even in the episodes that we've seen, Holly is hanging out in that cave with Max, and Henry is afraid to go in that cave. There's a reason
Right.
for that. And I'm
Sure.
guessing that that was the first time as a younger child that he came across and in contact with the Mind Flayer. Like that's probably where the Mind Flayer got to him. It's something with that cave, and that's why he won't go there. I think the Henry, the Mr. What's It Henry that we're seeing in that thing, that's like the good part of Henry that's still left. And that's because, he gives Max or Holly some kind of tape cassette and he's like, play this and like, don't go out to the woods or whatever. So if that little aspect of Henry's personality is still alive and still wholesome and good, maybe part of them escaping and beating both Vecna and whatever's beyond Vecna is using that on their side. And I think that the only way that this works is that, Henry has a battle to fight too, which I think is whoever is puppeteering or commanding Vecna, which is either the Mind Flayer or another thing we haven't seen yet.
So do you think that? Ooh, that is an interesting. Because I considered it. I do like narratively. I have a problem because I think that it's justifiable to some degree because they fight the Mind Flayer. Like they actually like straight up fight the Mind Flayer in season 3, I think. Or season 2. I don't remember.
Uh,
Um,
I don't remember either.
it's
I think
the
it was
battle at the
3.
mall. The battle at the mall. It's like it's the climax of one of the. I think it was season 3. It's
Yeah,
because it's the battle at the
I think it was
mall, and
3.
that's also when
Yeah.
Hopper, like supposedly dies. So they straight up fight the Mind Flayer, and I think that you could make the argument that maybe he's a little bit weaker when he's not in the Upside Down, but they've already fought the Mind Flayer and technically won. So to make the argument that Vecna is not like either as strong or stronger than the Mind Flayer, and they lose because they've already lost to Vecna. So if they lose to Vecna and Vecna's weaker than the Mind Flayer because he's a general, it just doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like they've already beaten the Mind Flayer, and they didn't beat him in the sense that they like killed him or defeated him in that way, but they
They
sent him
stopped him
back to
from
the
coming
Upside Down.
into the yes,
Right.
they stopped him from coming into
So
the Upside Down.
which
But
they were
also
not
you can
able
make
to
the
do with
case that
Vecna.
what they also, I mean, 11 also sent him back to the Upside Down in the end of last season too. But now Vecna's back, of course, and he's
Yeah.
been upgraded. He's got a new look to him. So
Yeah,
something has
I didn't
changed
like the
him.
new look. Tangent, I didn't
I
like the
like
new look.
aspects of it. It threw me off in certain scenes. Certain scenes it looked a little, but when you look at the still
But
shots, like the design, it looks pretty cool. But
I mean, maybe I didn't think that there was an issue with him before, but the other so there's that issue that I have in terms of like power scaling between the Mind Flayer and Vecna. But I would also lobby this to you, which is you're saying that there could be a Vecna Henry split where there's like the good Henry and the bad Vecna.
mhm.
Which one of them would Will be tied to? Because if what you're saying happens and there is some sort of split and there's a redemption arc for good Henry and good Henry becomes part of the team, um, is Will tied to good Henry or is Will tied to Vecna? Because if Will is tied to Vecna and they still have to defeat Vecna, then Will still has to die. But if there's a fun little loophole that they can exploit and Will is tied to good Henry, then Will doesn't have to die.
I think he's tied to Vecna, and I think he's going to die because I think it would be pretty unsatisfying if he didn't at this point. I think Will unfortunately needs to die.
Interesting. Why do
I
you
mean,
think
he's
he
been
needs to die? Because they
because
just
I
had
mean,
this
look at
big reveal of him getting
yes,
powers.
but look at narratively in this season, right? Where I mean, every season, Joyce coddles Will. It's always been like, oh, I don't want to lose my baby boy and this thing. And even him, he had this big stand against his mother this season where he's like,
Yeah.
look, I'm not a little kid. Like, I have to do something. I have to help. That's what I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be. So I think narratively, he needs to die because it's going to be like, yes, Joyce wasn't wrong to want to protect him, and Will wasn't wrong for wanting to stand up and fight, but he had to pay a price for it. So he was the one that could turn the tides, but he had to make a sacrifice for it. I think narratively he's got to die.
See, that's interesting. I mean, like you're framing it in this way of like he has to die to spite despite what his mom was doing because like mom was right and you shouldn't have done that. But I think that you have an interesting point in terms of he needs to die in order to complete his character arc. Like in order for him to become an adult, he has to die. Like that's an interesting take on it. Um, I wouldn't mind if he died. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if they all died, to be perfectly honest.
I don't know that I would like them to all die. I think I would rather some of them live. I think it would be unsatisfying if they all died.
Well,
But
you know for a fact, you know for a fact that at least one of them doesn't die. You know for a fact that Nancy survives because there's a Nancy spinoff.
most likely true. However, if we've jumped a couple years in between, theoretically there could be the spinoff that takes
Oh,
place
yeah, I
in
guess
that time frame.
yeah, I guess the
There's
spinoff could
always a
be
way,
before
but
this.
you're probably right. I doubt they're going to do that because I think the problem with doing that is like you know where it ends because we saw the next season. But it probably means that she's not going to die.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I think I do think there's going to be time travel shenanigans. I think that the writing's on the wall. I think they've just pointed to too many time travel related things in order to avoid some sort of time travel mechanic. And I don't think it'll be very straightforward. I don't think it's going to be a typical like let's just rewind and do it again. And I don't think it's going to be multiverse exactly because I think
Yeah.
people are you may not be tired of it, but I think most people are because everybody was doing it for a while. Um, not as
I
well as everything, everything, everywhere, all at once. If you haven't seen that multiverse movie, see that. That's good. But
I started it and I wasn't able to get like super into it, so I never finished, but maybe I will revisit it.
it's worth the beginning is a little slow. Once you get past a certain point, it's like buckle up and it's just a great ride.
Well, let me ask you one last question then to wrap up our Stranger Things conspiracy theories episode. I didn't think they were going to do this, but they reveal who is behind the door at the end of the fourth episode. And I forget what her name is, but she's also one of the kids who was locked up with
Kelly,
11.
yeah,
What was her name?
I think it's Callie or Collie or something like that. But she was
Uh,
number 8. She was
8.
she's
Yeah,
from
so
that Lost episode in season 2 that everybody hates. So if it, doing this is really interesting because that is objectively everybody's least favorite episode. So if they go back to that and whatever they're doing with that character works, the Duffer Brothers have fixed their biggest mistake. If it doesn't, they have doubled down and made everybody that much more annoyed with that character.
well, what I can tell you, and I'll ask you my question after this, but what I can tell you is it ruined the end of episode 4 a little bit for me. Um,
Really?
because I don't like that character. I look, the motif of this episode seems to be that there are a lot of characters in Stranger Things that Morgan has a problem with, but that's neither here nor there.
That's also not shocking. Like you generally don't like a lot of things. So like you have the stuff that you like, but you also have a tendency to not
I don't know
enjoy
that that's
things.
true.
So
I don't know that that's true. I enjoy quite a number of things, but look, like I said, Stranger Things I got into for the cultural reasons and to be up to date in as far as like the film and TV industry and what people are talking about. Do I think that Stranger Things is good? Yeah, I think that it scores above average. Do I think it's a 10 out of 10? Like everybody else seems to think? Not at all.
I don't know that I would
But
call it a 10 out of 10, but I do think it's very good.
but in any event, I didn't think that they were gonna actually show us what was behind the door, but they do. They reveal that it's 8. So my question is, what do you think is gonna happen with that character? Also, like, let's recap. What's her power? Because it's been quite a while since we've seen this character, and she has a
Yeah, please.
different power set.
If you could remind me because I don't remember to be completely honest with you. What is her power
So
set?
if I remember correctly, she has the ability to make things that she has the ability to make things appear that aren't there or make things
Oh yeah,
disappear that are there. Like that seems to be her ability.
yeah, like a
Um,
hologram kind of
like a sort of
power
hologram
set.
type of thing or a
Yeah, yeah.
cloaking kind of thing, which is decidedly different than 11 or 1. And they've gone through this whole rigmarole of setting up 1 and 11 to be mirrors.
Hmm.
And we don't see any of the other kids' powers. Like, we don't see. I mean, like, we see a little bit like two's power, and you sort of get the feeling that 2 is similar to 1 and 11, but like we don't see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9,
Yeah.
10. Like we don't see any of them, and if their powers are different, but 8 we know is different. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I don't know how they're going to leverage her skill set for this. I mean, obviously, she's going to play some kind of factor. Um, and yeah, she's going to have to join the team. Again, I'm going to point to it's going to be, I think it's going to require 11, Will, Henry, and 8, and they're going to have to combine all those things. And for what it's worth, I forgot to mention this earlier, and not to backtrack a second, but a further proof that I think we're gonna use Henry in some way. There was an interview that somebody did an interview with the cast, and they asked like, um, who's the most under misunderstood villain of the series? And Noah Shep, who plays Will, he's like Loki Vetka or Loki Vecna. And they're like, "Oh, really? Why?" And he's like, "Well, just." And Millie Bobby Brown freaked out. She's like, "Nope, don't talk, don't talk, don't talk." So obviously, there's some kind of twist that we are waiting to see with Vecna still. That's what I think it is. But I think that when you look at their power sets, Vecna and 11 are, to your point, mirrors. Will is pretty similar, but he's kind of similar where he could do some of the Vecna-y things, but not
I think
as
he
far
gets
as we
angel
know.
wings. I think he gets angel wings and he grants Christmas wishes.
Oh, great. Well, we should have talked about it. We should put him on our Christmas spin the wheel thing for the gift exchange. Check that episode out if you
That'll
haven't
be
done
the
it yet.
thumbnail. It'll just be Will with angel wings and then you and me. Ah.
please, please don't. Or actually, you know what? Let's mock it up. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it'll be great. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. I'm excited. We got the next batch of episodes happening on the 25th, which means a late night on Christmas because God knows I'm going to want to binge through it as soon as it drops.
Yeah, see, I'm not. Unless my family wants to watch it, and I'll ask them. And if they want to watch it, I'll watch it with them because then it becomes like a family thing. But dude, I'll watch it eventually.
My my last question for you, and then I have a quick trivia for us. But my last
Crispy
question before
trivia.
we
Crispy
crispy trivia.
trivia. Crispy trivia. Crispy trivia.
My last question for you is there, in your opinion, an actual way that they can conclude this series where people are satisfied?
Yeah. Oh
Do you
yeah.
think?
Not me, but people, sure.
Not you. So you don't think there's a way that they
No,
can
I
conclude this where you think
no,
you're
I
happy
think
with
I
it?
think there is a way to have a satisfying end, but they would have to legitimately address the hierarchy in for me personally, they have to address the hierarchy of the Upside Down. Is Vecna stronger than the Mind Flayer, or is the Mind Flayer the final boss, or is there somebody above all of them? Is there a fire squid that is ruling the Upside Down? That's a Good Place reference for those of you that have never seen Good Place. Um,
That's a great show. If you haven't watched Good
but
Place, you should watch Good Place. It's great.
but yeah,
Um,
I think that in order for it to be satisfying for me, they have to address the hierarchy in the Upside Down, and like low key they kind of have to kill Max because otherwise that it's left open ended as to whether or not 11 has revival
I
powers.
I literally asked you if you think that she was going to die, and at the
I
time, I
don't think
believe you said no, that you
I
don't think she's
don't
going
think
to die.
she's
But now
gonna.
you're saying
I
she's got to
don't
kill.
think. I don't. Well, you asked me what would be a satisfying ending for me?
Hmm.
And I think
So
that what would
killing
be
Max would make it
satisfying,
satisfying for you.
it would, because then the thing is, if anybody dies at this present moment, there is the open-ended question, can 11 just bring them back? Can L just bring them back? Like, she brought Max back.
But
And right
we
now,
also
and right
saw.
now you have the fact that she's in a coma and she hasn't actually like been fully revived, like she doesn't have consciousness in the physical world. So if you kill her off in the mind universe, then you wrap that up. Then L
But
can't bring people back.
I don't think that Elle can bring people back just like willy nilly. I think we saw a special case because when we got the other side of that from Max's perspective, where she was traveling through she was running from Vecna, she was, she had Lucas doing the music thing. Like, I think it was a combination of things that made it so, with all those things involved, it was the right personality with the right group of friends doing all the stuff that happened to allow that to happen. I don't think that Elle can just bring anybody back. She can't just walk around revive the dead. But then again, her powers have gotten weirder and weirder over the. I mean, like, her training montage thing is like basically watching Captain America at this point. Like, it's. I mean,
Yeah,
actually, beyond that, she's got like her skill set is just getting more and more robust. So who knows?
right.
Maybe she does pick it up along the way. I think that would
That's
also
my point.
be unfulfilling if they're just like, you also have necromancy. Like, I mean, like, it's. I
I'm
would
just
like to see
saying,
that
like,
pulled back a little bit.
the door is open to that possibility right now, and in order for there to be a satisfying conclusion, that door has to be shut.
So either they got to kill her in your mind, or she's somebody else has to die, and they have to be like, heal them, 11, and she's like, I can't. But you did it with Max, like, but that was different for XYZ. I can't just do it when I want. That would also satisfy that for you then.
Yeah, I guess if it's well written, I guess. Like that sounded really cheesy what you said just now, but yeah,
Well,
in a
I'm
nutshell, that's
riffing.
what it would be.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. You want to do some trivia?
Let's do some crispy trivia. This is
Crispy
apparently Stranger
trivia.
Things themed, guys, so I will fail tremendously at it.
Hey, if we fail together. Okay, so
Oh, if it's D, wait, if it's D&D themed, I might have a shot.
well, D&D is heavily featured in Stranger Things, so I'm sure we'll get a little bit of both. But question number one is, oh, and let me just say, this quiz is brought to us by BuzzFeed.
He's
Question
always
number one
gotta
is,
he's always gotta
yeah, you
throw
gotta
in the source.
somebody went through the effort of making it. The least I can do is tell people where it's from. I don't know. But
True.
question number one is, what D&D spell does Will cast in the first season,
Wow.
or the first scene of season one?
Scene one or season one, yeah, that takes me back. I don't know that I remember.
I'm so our options here are resist cold, true sight, fireball, and protection spell. I'm guessing protection spell because that would thematically with what we just saw in season 5, because I also don't remember exactly the scene, but in season 5 where they're all about to die and Will comes to the rescue and he protects all of his friends, I think thematically that would make sense that it's kind of circling
Well,
back to that moment. So my guess is protection spell.
I mean, like, I'm 50-50 between Fireball and Protection Spell, but I'm trying to recall, like, what was happening in that scenario, in that scene. And I believe that they were towards the end of a campaign and they were fighting a final boss, and the options were to turn tail and run or try and take him down. So I actually think, if I'm even remembering that correctly, which I may not even be, but I think that that is the scenario. I think it's Fireball because that would be your last ditch effort to try and defeat Big Baddie of the campaign. So I don't think it's
Okay.
protection spell because that just buys you time.
All right. Well, we'll go with fireball. We'll see what happens. You were
Hey,
correct. It
Fireball
is in fact fireball. Way to go,
uses
Morgan.
it against Dustin. Oh, I don't remember that.
All right. So question number 2: what was Brenner's internal Hawkins lab project called? Was it Project Helix, Project Gateway, Project Prometheus, or Project Indigo?
Oh, this is a good question because who's Brenner? Which one's Brenner?
Papa.
Papa. I think it's Project Gateway. No, no,
Gateway
no.
makes sense,
Gateway.
but I
Gateway's
think it's
after.
Helix.
Gateway's
I,
after though,
I'm
isn't it?
leaning. I don't know because they did have. I mean, so they had the project with the kids, and I don't know if they were separate projects, but there's also the big thing that they were like blowtorching in the basement. So
Right.
theoretically, that could be
I
Project
think.
Gateway, but
I think
Helix
that.
sounds right to me for some reason. My official
I'm
answer is
actually.
Helix, but I don't know that I'm correct.
I think it is also Helix, but I'm also torn between Helix and Gateway because I think that they were different. The thing that was happening in the basement, like all of the whole season one thing with the Gateway, I think that's Project Gateway, and then the thing with 11 and the other kids, I think that was a different project.
Okay. All right, let's check it out and see what we got. Oh, we were both wrong.
Project
It's Project
Indigo.
Indigo. Womp womp.
Interesting. Like the color. Sure.
Like the color. All right, question number 3. In season 1, what song plays during Nancy's appearance in the Wheeler family dinner scene? Is it Africa by
Oh.
Toto, Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner, Hazy Shade by, oh, if I can read, Hazy Shade of Winters by The Bangles, or Roxanne by The Police?
I don't think it's Roxanne or Africa because those aren't like Nancy vibes. It's probably
I mean,
Waiting for a Girl Like You.
so it's at the
I
Wheeler
don't remember
family
exactly how she's
dinner
introduced.
scene. I don't know either. I don't think it's. I think for a scene at the dinner table, waiting for a girl like you would be weird. I
I don't
don't.
remember what's happening in this scene, so I don't.
I don't remember
It's
what's
hard to
happening in here
say.
either. I really want to say Africa because that song is such a banger, man. That
It's
song. That
it's
song
really good.
is awesome. It's amazing.
It's
Um,
really good.
I'm gonna say Hazy Shade of Winters, though. I'm gonna say that, even though I don't even know what.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
even know if I know that
I
song.
mean, like I could get behind it. I just don't think it's Roxanne or Africa.
Yeah, I.
Watch it be
I
watch
also
it be
don't
one of
think it's.
those.
Yeah, probably wrong. It
Wait,
was
wait, what
Waiting
was
for a
it?
Girl Like You.
Oh, it was! I was right, guys. How about
I'm gonna have
that?
to go back and watch that scene because like I can't. I just can't picture it of like why that would make sense with the scene. But all right, question number 4. Hopper uses which coded CIA style keyword in season 2? Is it Blackbird, the Eagle, Pumpkin, or Enzo?
In season two, what was happening in season two? Season two is after Will has come back. Season two is so forgettable because that's when we get the whole thing with eight. I feel
Yeah.
like there's
So she
probably a
runs
lot of.
away. Her and Hopper are bumping heads. She runs away. She has her life and she has her little side quest in Chicago. And
Yeah.
I don't remember what else. The Demodogs is season 2,
Oh, right.
right?
Dustin's whole thing with
Yeah.
trying
Which
to
I
have a
forgot
pet
to tell you
dog.
earlier. You were talking about like, how they do the camera and stuff. I did actually see a thing about how they do the camera for the Demodog view because if
Oh.
when they're running through, you kind of see them from their POV. They actually take like a
Hmm.
really large drone and they mount a camera to it, and it's a huge
Oh.
camera. It's crazy, and they fly that through the tunnels because they wanted it to have a certain type of feel to it. And the only way to get that, because you couldn't run that with a person, they needed it to be like kind of flowy and hoppy at the same time. So they literally mounted a giant camera to a drone, and they control it to kind of do that hoppy motion to it. I thought it was really cool to
Interesting.
watch, and it's a massive rig.
That's
But
interesting.
anyway,
I didn't know that a drone was powerful enough to hold a camera because
it's
for
a
those of you
it's a
that
big
don't
drone.
know, cameras are heavy though. Like
Yeah,
on the light end, you're looking at a 30 to 50 pound piece of equipment. And they
and
can get up there. These are heavy pieces of equipment.
the other thing is too that drones don't fly for very long. Like you don't get a lot of flight time out of them. So I don't know
Well,
how
that
long
depends
it
on the
took to
battery.
shoot those scenes. I mean, shoot those scenes. You might have had to have multiple drones, or it takes a while because
Yeah.
you get like 5 to 6 minutes out of it, and then it's like, all right, got to recharge this thing now.
Yeah.
But they were
I
committed
mean,
to
like
it.
it
They
could
felt
be.
that was
It,
the right look. So
but
what are you thinking though for
okay, so
this
there's the
CIA style keyword?
I mean, like, I don't know. For some reason I'm feeling Blackbird, but I have no real rationale for that.
I don't know why Enzo sticks out. Oh no, Enzo is the name of the restaurant that
Enzo's
he wants to take Joyce to
Yeah,
date
Enzo's the
on.
name of the restaurant.
That so all right. I'm guessing the eagle. You're guessing blackbird.
Yeah.
All right,
Watch
let's
it be
see.
Enzo.
You were
Oh, I
correct.
was right.
Nope.
It is Blackbird.
All right. So official scoreboard, which I don't have ready for today, is Morgan 2 and
I'm
Jason 1.
actually I'm doing
Or are
kind
you
of
at 3?
well.
Yeah,
I
you're
think I'm at
doing good.
3. I'm doing kind of well.
All right. 3 for you and 1 for me. All right. Question number 5. What is the exact brand of walkie-talkie the boys used throughout
Oh
season 1?
man.
Is it a Motorola MX300, a Cobra CXX25, a Midland 75-822, or a realistic TRC 214? Do they even say this? Like, how are we supposed to
It,
remember this? This is a ridiculous question.
I mean, like it's. I mean, this is trivia, right? This is the whole what trivia is supposed to be, where it's like obscure facts about a
Trivial
thing,
facts, yeah.
trivial facts. So I'm thinking it's either the Motorola or the Cobra. And for whatever reason, I'm leaning Motorola just because, like, I'm trying to think what kind of tech would they have had in the 80s. And I feel like Motorola used to be like way bigger than it is now.
Yeah, but I think Cobra used to be bigger than it is now too. But that's fine. Let's go
That's what I'm
Motorola
saying.
because
I could go either way.
it was a realistic
Oh,
TRC 214, whatever that is. I've never even heard of that brand before.
yeah, no, probably doesn't exist anymore.
All right, question number 6. What was Hawkins originally going to be called? Hudson Falls, Kingston, Ridgewood, or Montauk? I know this one,
Like in
and
the
if any of the
script.
listeners listened to our, if any listeners had listened to our previous Stranger Things episode, our bonus episode after this season dropped, I think I did mention it in there. So I guess this is a
Oh,
test
did
to
you?
see what your memory is like, Morgan.
I don't remember you mentioning it, so now I'm compelled after this to go and see if you did indeed mention it, because I don't remember you mentioning it, and I don't have a
Tell you
perfect
what,
memory, but I have a pretty good one.
tell you what. Throw on a different pair of headphones. Bring up our last episode where we talked about Stranger Things. I'll wait. We'll just wait and keep the stream going. Listen to the whole thing. Let me know when you find the answer.
40 minutes later,
I'm kidding, of course. I'm
title
kidding.
card 40 minutes later.
40
Um,
minutes later.
I I I mean, like, for me, this would be a guess, and if Jason knows the answer, then I guess he's not going to weigh in. But for me, this would be a guess, and my guess would be either Ridgewood or Montauk.
Okay.
And
So
I'm
which one do you want
leaning
to go with?
Ridgewood. I'm leaning
Okay.
Ridgewood just because Hawkins is a very understated kind of name, and I feel like
Hawkins.
Montauk is kind of like
Hawkins.
whatever. I think Montauk is a very like hoity-toity kind of name, so I'm leaning Ridgewood.
Okay. Final answer?
Yeah,
Okay. It
because
is
Hudson
Montauk,
Falls doesn't
actually.
make any sense. It is okay, great, cool.
It is
And
Montauk,
the
yeah.
reason
So the
that they
original.
and the reason they didn't go with it is because it sounds too hoity-toity.
Well, originally the show was going to be called Montauk, and it was not going to be called Stranger Things, but it was going to be based in a city in New England that they were calling Montauk because it was very
Oh,
heavily inspired by Stephen King novels, which, if you know anything about Stephen King, he writes a lot of things that happen in the New England area. But when they shifted it, they decided it should take place in the Midwest. They wanted to be in small city in Indiana, and naming conventions, they felt Hawkins made more sense for that region than Montauk did, so they switched
well,
it up.
for those of you who are not from the New England area, and I am from the New England area, I've been to Montauk. Montauk is out in Long Island, and Montauk is a hoity-toity place. Montauk is like where all of the rich guys go. That's where everybody has their yacht. That's where everybody has their like beach house, and that's where they all go to, slum it for a weekend or whatever. Um, So yeah, I totally get why they didn't go with Montauk if they want, because if they wanted to have like a rural feel, Montauk is not the solution to having like a rural feel.
Yeah. So it was probably a good call. All right, question number 7. Robin's Russian translation mistake actually hints at a KGB phrase, a real submarine code, Morse code embedding, or a phonetic misdirection.
I don't
So
remember
this would
what the
be, what
trans.
was this, season 3? When did we get Robin first? Was it season 3 she first shows up? I think so.
I think so, yeah.
So if
Because
you
she's
recall, there
important.
was yeah, because she deciphered the Russian code that was happening through
Yeah. I
something,
mean,
and
like
she
she's
determined,
important for other reasons, but that's like the main reason that her character gets
yeah.
introduced is she can translate Russian.
And I can kind of picture the scene where she has deciphered the code, and then she's like, "Oh, that's a translation mistake," but I can't remember the context around it, so
Yeah, I can't
I
remember
don't
what
know.
the mistake was. Like, I remember that being like a
Yeah, I
whole
don't either.
thing. I just can't remember what the mistake was. I don't think it was a phonetic misdirection. I think it was like a just a misinterpretation of what the riddle was. So I want to
Okay,
say it's probably an actual KGB phrase.
okay.
Um, but I honestly could see it being anything but a phonetic misdirection.
See, and that's the one that I'm leaning towards. I don't recall the
Really?
situation specifically, but I feel like it was in my head, in my head canon, it was over the walkie-talkie where there was like a Russian on the other side, and she had to say something in there, and she threw it like, "Oh, it's a translation mistake." I don't know. I'm probably wrong, so we'll go with yours, a KGB phrase,
Ah,
but it was
no, you
a
could be
phonetic
right. I
misdirection.
know. And
Does that tie
indeed he
us up? I
is.
think we're at 3-3 now. You versus me, 3-3.
Possibly.
Are we even now? Even Steven?
I haven't gotten one right since I got on my high horse, so that sucks. But
Serves you right. All right, number 8.
oh
When
well.
Joyce
I
buys
am
magnets in season 3, what specific item does she use to test if they're working? A toolbox, her refrigerator,
oh,
a metal
I know
desk,
this one.
or her TV?
It's the
Okay,
refrigerator. It's the
I think
refrigerator.
so too. Yeah. Bam.
I don't think I
Four
know.
and
That
four.
one I knew. I knew that one. Because that's like, for whatever reason, that scene sticks out in my memory.
Yeah, it also just makes sense. It just feels like a logical place to kind of put that. Number 9. What is the actual origin of Eleven's iconic pink dress blue jacket outfit? Created from old Hawkins Labs uniforms based on the Goonies
No.
costume color palette, styled after 1983 Sears catalog, or a nod to E.T.'s disguise?
It could be any of those. I don't know what the like artistic decision behind her outfit is, and I don't think it's explained in the series. Like I feel like this is knowledge that you would have if you're like a diehard fan.
I think I know the answer. I think I know it for no
I
other
don't
reason that when we did the last Stranger Things episode, we made our shorts afterward, and I had to find visuals because I had made the comment that the first season of Stranger Things was very similar to E.T. And for the
Oh, okay.
visual, I pulled two pictures of one of 11 and one of E.T., and they had similar outfits on. So I think it's a nod to E.T.'s disguise.
Okay. I mean like I said, it could be any of these, so I'm down.
Heyo. And
Look
that
at
is, in
that.
fact, so. Does that pull me
Confirming the
ahead? I don't know what you
ET.
were going to try to go through. 5-4. You didn't officially answer, so I don't know. Maybe you were going to end up with that anyway.
What? Oh, I don't know. I mean like I was just agreeing with you because I said it could be any of them, so.
All right, 5-5. What is the first clue? This is the final question, by the way. Number 10. What is the
Oh,
first
okay.
clue
This is
that
the
the upside
tiebreaker.
down?
High
This is
stakes.
a tiebreaker. Yeah. What is the first clue that the upside down is frozen in time? Season 4, Episode 4, Nancy's diary being stuck. Season 2, Episode 5, Bob's map moment. Season 1, Episode 8, Castle Byers flashback. Or Season 1, Episode 3, Joyce's lights.
Um, I think that the first time that we understand that the Upside Down is frozen in time is when Nancy points it out in season 4. So I'm gonna say season 4, episode 4, Nancy's diary being stuck.
I also think that's the answer, but because it's the tiebreaker question, I feel like I need to pick a different choice. So this way, one
I
of
don't
us
know,
is right
man.
and one of us is wrong.
You can end in a tie, or you can choose to be wrong, because if
We
you
should
also
keep a
feel like
running tally. Like this should start. We'll start this now. Every week we'll have like an ongoing scoreboard where like whoever wins gets like an official tally. So like
I
whoever wins
won.
this one will be one win. Um, okay, if I'm going with what I think the actual answer is, I think it is also no. That's season 4 though. Did we not think it was stuck in
This is
time prior
it
than
is
season
also
4?
saying it is also saying when do we get the first clue? And I will say that when Nancy is talking about the Upside Down being frozen in time, she says it very definitively. So it could be talking
Mm.
about, like, when was in the narrative, when was the first time that it was hinted at that the Upside Down is frozen in time, and maybe not explicitly said. And I
So
could see there being an argument for season 1, episode 8, the Castle Buyers flashback, but
so I don't
it's
remember
so vague.
The Castle Buyers flashback. I don't recall what that was.
So that's the if I
Is it a tree
remember
fort?
correctly, because season 1 is so long ago, but if I remember correctly, it's when you see um Will like building the fort.
Hmm.
When you see him originally building the fort, or like having completed the fort.
So I think it's either got to be Nancy's diary or it's got to be Joyce's lights. I think that's got to be one of those two because when we see him building the fort, that's in the real world. So how would we know anything about the
Yeah.
Upside Down being frozen in time? The Bob's map
Because
moment,
the
I think,
fort
is
because
also
the
the real world. So like that doesn't make sense to me. We can
Well,
see.
the reason
uh,
the reason that we know that, though, is because the fort still exists in the Upside Down, and he tore it down in the real world. Remember, there's
Hmm.
that whole thing where he gets upset and he tears it down. So the fact that it is there would suggest that the Upside Down is frozen in time.
Good point. Yeah, I because I was gonna say if it's Joyce's lights, like maybe there was something where they went to the like while we were in the Upside Down, we noticed that a light was there that wasn't there when they were in the right side up world. But now that you say that,
Have I just have
I'm
I
gonna
just
shift
convinced
gears.
myself that it's season 1, episode 8?
You've convinced me. That's my answer now. Is season one,
Okay,
episode 8. Do you want to
I'm gonna
change
stick with
yours? Or you're
Nancy's.
sticking with Nancy's
I'm
diary.
gonna stick with Nancy's diary.
All right, here we go. You were correct. It was
I
Nancy's diary.
did it.
So on the official scoreboard, Morgan has 1 and I have 0 because we're starting this as of today. That'll be our official. We'll make like a cool
Hey,
scoreboard and we'll keep track of how we do.
I feel like this is a very ironic way to start the scoreboard, because I feel like up to this point it has 100% been Jason winning every single one.
Which is you can use the assist. So you're off to a good start. Maybe this is of good. This is a sign of good things to come.
Maybe, possibly, probably not though.
So I think at this point, I will remind everybody that we are on all the podcast platforms. Follow us along there.
All of them,
If you're on that, follow
every
on
single one.
YouTube. Like, comment, share. We are curious what kind of content you guys like. So if you like this sort of thing or a different type of episode, or if you have your own theories, I'd love to hear them. Let us know what you think, and that's a great way to communicate with us is through the comments, and it really does help us as well. So, yeah. Any final
Helps us a lot.
thoughts, Morgan? Any final
Tell us your
things?
Stranger Things conspiracy theories. What do you think will happen? And should Mike die?
Just don't like Mike. Nah, all right.
He's so
It's your
annoying
prerogative.
at this point, man. Does
He just
anybody
hasn't done
does
anything to
wait, hold
annoy
on.
me, really.
Does anybody else feel the same way? Am I alone in my detesting of Mike Wheeler? Does anybody else?
Mike and 11 have to finally like really be together at the end of this. That's what I say.
Hey, I mean, like, that's probably what's gonna happen, which is
Probably.
so fun.
All right, I think that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Cast Backstage Banter. Until next time, keep the reel rolling, and we will catch you in the next scene.
Cut.